the beautiful game's king. A boy with a scuffed leather ball. A father with a story about 5 headers in one game. A nation with music in its feet. In a world that calls this sport football, and a country that calls it soccer, one name became a bridge: Pele. 17 years old, in a World Cup final. The ball kissed his chest. He lifted it once and volleyed it into forever. He wasn't just a player. He was a promise of beauty in motion, of art in a crowded field, of joy you could measure in goals and tears. Tonight, we go where the game learned to dance. We follow the child who became a king, and the king who made the game beautiful. From dust to dusk, to dawn again, he wrote with feet, a golden pen. He was born Edson Arantes do Nascimento in 1940 in Três Corações, Brazil. Named after Edison, a nod to light itself. But his childhood unfolded in the industrial town of Bauru. The family called him Dico. The world would one day call him Pele, a nickname born from a schoolyard mispronunciation that somehow fit like destiny. His father, João Ramos Dondinho, was a talented striker whose career was cut short by injury. He told his son about that fabled day he headed the ball into the net 5 times. His mother, Celeste, kept the home and the hope, counting coins and blessings in equal measure. Money was tight, and the boy took on odd jobs, shining shoes to help the family. He played with anything that rolled: crumpled socks, a grapefruit, a wad of newspaper tied with string. He learned control from scarcity, accuracy from hunger, creativity from necessity. Futsal, the fast, 5-a-side indoor game, sharpened his angles and instincts. On asphalt and dust, he learned to dance around space itself. A former Brazilian international, Waldemar de Brito, saw the shine beneath the grit and told his mother he will be the greatest footballer in the world. At 15, de Brito took him to Santos FC, a coastal club that would become the stage for a revolution. Struggles and failures, the weight of a dream. Greatness isn't granted, it's ground out. At Santos, a teenager faced men with elbows and reputations. The body had to catch up to the vision. He learned to absorb and evade, to take the hit and hide the pain. Injuries tested him early. Attention grew faster than his muscles. Pressure, too. On the road to the 1958 World Cup in Sweden, a knee injury threatened to sideline him. He missed Puzet's first 2 matches. He was 17, with a nation on his back. In 1962, he would be injured again after a promising start, and Brazil would win without him. In 1966, rough play and lenient refereeing in England hacked at his ankles and his will. He limped out of the tournament and vowed never to play a World Cup again. They kicked the boy to break the man, but storms can forge what doubt began. The turning point, Sweden, 1958. A crown falls from the sky. Then came the hinge of history, 1958. A slim teenager with fear in his heart and fire in his feet stepped onto the world's grandest stage. In the semi-final against France, he scored a hat trick. 3 strokes of audacity that felt like sunrise. In the final against host Sweden, he did what children dream and adults cannot rehearse. Chest control, flick over a defender, and a volley that seemed to pause time. When the whistle blew, the kid cried. He found his father in the stands and sobbed. The world had met a new word for joy, and its sound was Pele. He didn't just win. He rewrote how winning could look. Soft touch, sudden acceleration, a smile after magic, as if to say, "Did you see it too?" Santos became a touring theater company, and Pele its star. In 1962 and 1963, they won the Copa Libertadores, then beat Europe's champions, Benfica and Milan, for the Intercontinental Cup. On a famous night in Lisbon against Benfica, he scored 3, gliding past defenders like gravity had been renegotiated. He hit 1,000 goals, o milésimo, from the penalty spot at the Maracanã in 1969. As the ball rippled the net, cameras flashed. And he used the microphone to speak, not about himself, but about Brazil's poor children, urging care and compassion. The numbers dazzled. Over 1,000 career goals when you count the exhibitions common in that era. But the moments mattered more. The opponents applauding, the awe of his peers. Then, 1970, Mexico, a team for the ages. Brazil's yellow shirts flowed like a river of rhythm. Pele scored 4 goals and, by most accounts, set up a tournament record number of assists, threading passes as if drawing constellations. He leapt above Italy's defense to hit Brazil's first goal in the final. And later, he rolled a pass to Carlos Alberto for the thunderous 4th. Maybe the greatest team goal ever scored. Brazilians say that day the sun wore number 10. In the mid-1970s, he crossed an ocean to play for the New York Cosmos. In a country where football meant something else, he became an ambassador with a ball. Attendance soared. Stars and politicians lined the sidelines. For many Americans, Pele was the first chapter, the first reason to care. Pele's fiercest battles were often with the boot and the stopwatch. Timed tackles, cynical fouls, defenders assigned to bruise first and fail later. The 1966 World Cup in England turned into a gauntlet of violence that almost cost the sport its brightest star. He adapted. He learned to release the ball before the kick arrived, to disappear into space and reappear in the net. There were rivalries worthy of poetry. Eusebio in Europe, a gentleman's duel of grace and power. There is a oft-told story that a Santos Tour match in 1969 led to a local pause in fighting in Nigeria so crowds could watch Pele. Historians debate the extent and accuracy of that claim, but what's undeniable is the pull he had on people in places far from home. When Pele came, gates opened, and for 90 minutes, enemies chose to be neighbors. Icon and man are not the same. Pele was criticized for staying apolitical during Brazil's military dictatorship in the 1960s and 70s, especially when later players like Socrates used the game to challenge power. Pele argued his job was to play, that his platform was joy, not protest. It's a debate without easy answers about risk, role, and responsibility. His personal life drew headlines, endorsement deals that some called over-commercialization, and a long-running paternity dispute that Brazilian courts ultimately resolved by recognizing a daughter he had not acknowledged earlier. He later served as Brazil's Minister of Sports in the 1990s, championing reforms known as the Pele Law, which expanded players' rights in a market often controlled by clubs and middlemen. Greatness invites scrutiny. The mirror is merciless. But the fuller portrait includes both light and shade. Pele didn't just play, he explained, and he left us lines that still coach the heart. In later interviews and in motivational talks about his journey, he often summarized the recipe behind the magic. Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing. Reflecting on pressure and the 1970 redemption after the brutal 1966 tournament, he reminded us, the more difficult the victory, the greater the happiness in winning. In a period when he was asked why he played with such joy and ease, he answered with a metaphor that sounded like destiny. I was born to play football, just like Beethoven was born to write music, and Michelangelo to paint. Practice, pressure, pain, and play. He turned them into bright display. Pele globalized a local language. He made Brazilians feel seen and made the world feel invited. For Black Brazilians facing subtle and overt barriers, he was proof that excellence could be irrefutable. For kids in alleys and suburbs, he was the poster that made them put on their shoes or take them off and try. He changed how forward play looked. Two-footed control, aerial elegance, inventive finishes, and a sixth sense for angles. His number, 10, became a myth, assigned not just to playmakers, but to dream makers. He helped plant soccer in American soil, where it took root slowly, and now blooms in packed stadiums and Saturday morning youth leagues across the country. He showed that beauty isn't a luxury, it can be a strategy. He made joy a tactic. On December 29th, 2022, Pele died at 82 after a battle with cancer. Brazil declared days of national mourning. His casket lay at Santos's Vila Belmiro Stadium, where he became a legend. Hundreds of thousands lined the streets for his procession. Chants and tears mingled under a Brazilian sun that felt both too bright and not bright enough. Across the world, stadiums observed moments of silence. Messages poured in from presidents, players, artists, from Mbappe to Neymar, from old rivals to new heroes. The chorus was clear. There was football before Pele and football after Pele. When a king lays down his crown, the game keeps moving, goal to goal. But somewhere in the passing sound, you hear the echo of a soul. Roll the reel back to the boy in Maui, to the dad with the 5 headers, to the mother counting the day's coins, to the coach who made a promise. He will be the greatest. Roll forward to 1958, the chest, the flick, the volley. Then to 1970, the leap, the pass, the joy. Then to New York, where a country learned a new cheer because of an old master. We argue about numbers. We debate eras. We measure miracles with modern metrics. But the truest stat is simpler. How he made you feel. Pele made the game feel like a song you already knew. Let the field be green, the sky be wide. Let fear fall off, let courage ride. Let craft be love, let love be flame, and let us keep the beautiful game.
And as Pele reminded us, long after the last whistle, success is no accident. It is love of what you are doing. May we play our lives the same way.